Back at 6:44 on Daybreak, and Fran Striker may not be a household name, but chances are you know his work.
Yeah, he's the man who created one of the most well-known Old West heroes of all time, the Lone Ranger, an iconic character that, as we find out in this week's Unknown Story, was born in a Buffalo radio studio. Now the man behind the legend is being celebrated in a brand new novel. Fran Striker was born and raised in Buffalo, went to UB, and got his first radio job at WGRZ Radio.
I don't know where I heard about Fran Striker, but when I did, I was amazed that I never heard of him before.
When he was at EBR, Striker became an announcer and writer. One of the most famous characters of all time actually flowed from his brain through his typewriter and then out over the air. That legendary character was the Lone Ranger.
I really got interested about this person who had such an impact on 20th century pop culture that has sort of been forgotten over the years.
So interested that author Stephen Eoannou has made him the principal subject and focus of his latest Buffalo-based novel, Yesteryear.
The basic timeline is sort of true. I condensed it a little bit for Fran's story. The basic elements of his life are true. And then I just started thinking about Buffalo at that period. What would it have been like? And that's when I pulled in real life characters like The Undertaker, the mob boss out of Niagara Falls, and Jimmy Slattery, and said, I don't know if they intersected, but they could have.
In fact, at the beginning of the book, Striker has dealings with Stefano Magaddino, the infamous mob boss, and crosses paths with Jimmy Slattery, the former light heavyweight champ, in a location familiar to many, the bar at Volker's Bowling Alley. That was within walking distance of the real Striker's home on Granger Place in North Buffalo. And that's also a point where fact and fiction go hand in hand.
And legend has it he had two offices, one at his house on Granger Place, and the other one at his mother-in-law's house. So when he got too annoying to his family and his neighbor with a constant typing at one house, he'd go and work at the other one.
That's another facet of Striker's life that Eoannou captures in Yesteryear, the fact that Striker was a prolific writer, but also a workaholic who in the end put family first, especially when he took a job in Detroit to support his family during the Great Depression, even though it meant he would later give up the rights to the shows he created, including the legendary characters, the Lone Ranger and Green Hornet. And this year, we celebrate Striker and the birth of that mysterious masked man.
This is the 90th anniversary of when the Ranger first rode into our homes.
Yeah, and to give you an idea of what a bargain that Detroit radio station got in obtaining the rights, in 1954, WXYZ sold the rights for $3.6 million. In 2015, NBC bought the rights when they came out with the movie, NBC Universal, $3.8 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, neither Striker nor his family ever got a dime of that. Striker had moved back to Western New York and was ultimately killed in an automobile crash in 1962. But he wanted the job, and that was what it took because it was the Depression. So had to support the family.
And happy anniversary to the Lone Ranger.
Yeah, and it's a great book. Pick it up if you get a chance. Yesteryear, Stephen Eoannou.